and cram some more loneliness into your life, but to be perfectly honest, I don't think it'll fit. There's no way that will fit. I'm going to go back to playing solitaire. I got a question about that. You're a grown-up. You're a grown adult. Why are you doing a one-card deal? What's that about? Do a three-card deal, you coward. You know what's ironic? With you here talking to me, I actually feel a little bit less lonely. Me too.
The Devil's Deck!
I became extremely suspicious of the ellipsis. I would get out of my car and then bam, all of a sudden I was at the front door. It started to happen at other times too, just continuously, like with food. So actually I didn't mind this one. I would go and I'd put something in the oven and then bam, it was right in front of me, a roasted chicken as I watched the television. Yeah, I'm not a good cook. That's what you say, you're a good cook.
You're a good cook, yeah, great cook.
The real sign of it was on date nights, this guy. We would go out and we would have a lovely dinner and then we'd come home and we would end up in the bedroom kissing. And it would get so hot and heavy, right?
Yeah. It would get hot heavy.
Yeah.
Never made that noise.
Doesn't matter because I didn't remember it. I would wake up with my makeup and hair fully done and I didn't know what had happened the night before. There's all these cutaways and fade-ins and fade-outs and I'm like, who am I? You don't ever know if you're powerful or so insignificant. And that 180-degree rule,
Oh.
The line. Yeah, that is very disorienting. You're not even looking at me right now.
Are you okay? I'm looking right at you. I'm sitting directly in front of you.
Yes, I do believe her. Sometimes it can be weird. She just disappears. Ripple fade, I think she calls it. Ripple fade? Ripple fade. Ripple fade.
I accept that I'm a character. And I like that. And if that's who I'm supposed to be, then character me up. I like it. But it just feels as of late I'm truly living in a box.
She feels two-dimensional.
Yeah. I mean, in the last month, it's been nothing but video conference calls and readings. I need you, my writer or my director, to get with it. So I don't know if you're going through some sort of midlife crisis, creative crisis, roadblock, head block, but it's time to get out of it. I need you to make me mountain ranges. Let me play on a beach or have a montage of me going down Hollywood Boulevard, but get me out of here before I hurt the man I thought I loved.
Hey, Bets. Those PJs look great.
Miles, oh my God, what are you doing here? And why are you being so loud?
Sorry, I can't do the front door. The ladder's way more subtle. What I wanted to ask you is...
For your algebra homework, of course. It's right here.
Nice. You know I can't read numbers. So what I wanted to ask you is, do you have a date yet to the spring fling?
That's it! Turn your TV down. I'm gonna find the MT time.
Sorry, Dad. Miles, ever since we were partners for frog dissection in 8th grade science, I've wanted to cut open your heart to see what's inside.
That's hot.
Peter? What are you doing? And where did you get those rocks? This whole neighborhood is paved driveways.
It's okay. I'm being sneaky by coming in through the window with rocks.
Just come up, I guess.
Betsy, hi. Oh, hi, Miles. Finished that book report just like you asked.
Oh, dope. You know I can't read words.
Betsy, I had a brilliant idea. I'm the student council president. You're the VP. We should go to Spring Fling together as a show of student government unity. Oh, Grover, Cleveland High, we stand upright for thee.
Betsy, quiet! I need to be well rested for golf. Golf happens very early.
Sorry, Dad. Peter, just because we touched tongues at Jill Tan's junior dim party does not mean that
Joey, stop. You're gonna wake the whole neighborhood.
It's Morse code. Nobody can hear us.
That's not how Morse code works.
I'm coming in.
Why are you wearing tap shoes?
Ah! Miles! Don't beat me up. Put your psych homework in your locker, just like you asked.
Dope. You know I can't read social cues.
Joey, please don't do this. You're like my brother, and if my dad wakes up, I will be grounded for life.
Bets, I know we're best friends, but I've been in love with you ever since you moved in next door. Will you go to the spring fling with me?
Well, I asked her first, so...
No, I asked her first.
But I love her.
Okay, enough. The three of you have barged into my house on a Tuesday night. My dad is sleeping, and I can't go to the dance with anybody if I'm grounded.
That's it!
Dad?
I don't care what you're doing. I just care that it's silent. I have a grudge match against Bill Gunderson at 5:30 in the morning, and I'm not going to lose because of lack of sleep.
Carl, is that you? Keep it down and save it for the green.
Gunderson, your Prius is mine. Where did all these rocks come from? This is not where I put rocks.
So, who's it gonna be?
Miles, obviously. He has long hair, and I think I can fix him.
Sweet.
Just go home, boys.
And do it quietly. So, you want to make out?
Definitely. Lips, I can read. Oh.
playing solitaire, are ya? Solitaire's the game you play when you've got no friends. Solitaire's the game you play when you've got nobody to play a game with. It's a loser's game, a lonely man's game, or a lonely woman. The gender doesn't really come into it. Loneliness does, and you're clearly alone. Otherwise, you wouldn't be playing solitaire, would you? You'd be playing Snap, or Go Fish, Old Maid, Blackjack 21, but no, you're playing solitaire. It's been a hard year. Well, it's going to get harder. I've got bad news for you. I'm not just a mean card. Well, you seem like a mean card. I'm a mean card. You didn't let me finish. I'm not just a mean card. I'm also a cursed card. That's right, I'm the devil's card. I escaped from the devil's deck of playing cards. How did I do it? A magician. Sleight of hand, baby. The slightest of hands. You've never seen a hand so slight. When you play with the devil's deck, you can't win. Even shuffling these cards is a cardinal sin. This house of cards is your prison, but it was your choice to play. Your royal flush in your life away. Go fish for an answer to the problem you're in. Dig your grave with a spade, throw your broken heart in. Time is up forever, but life's membership won't last. They'll get you out of this club real fast. The devil's deck. To hear no evil, to speak no evil, to see no evil. The devil's deck. Pick a card, any card, it won't do you any good. It's a terrible deal, you should have looked beneath the hood. You're over 21, you must depression sitting in. This is a card game, baby. This is a card, the real thing. The devil's deck. I have a question. What does it mean? What's going to happen to me? Well, usually I doom the player to eternal loneliness, but that would be a bit redundant, wouldn't it? It'd be like pouring butter and sugar onto a cake. I guess I could try and cram some more loneliness into your life, but to be perfectly honest, I don't think it'll fit. There's no way that will fit. I'm going to go back to playing solitaire. I got a question about that. You're a grown-up. You're a grown adult. Why are you doing a one-card deal? What's that about? Do a three-card deal, you coward. You know what's ironic? With you here talking to me, I actually feel a little bit less lonely. Me too. The devil's deck!
Welcome back. Hey, everybody. Thank you for tuning into Comedy in Micro at MicroMania Film Festival 2020. Just want to take a quick moment to thank all of our sponsors. If I can find my my notes. Here we go. Thank you to the New Hotness Media Institute, the big sponsor, followed by Indie Vice, Argle Bargle, the game where you insult your friends. This is very fun. I highly recommend it. And Free Agent. Also, special thanks to Black Girl Film Club, Mystic Road Films, Caramax Studio, Alicia Ripley, our incredible filmmaker panelists who you will meet shortly, and our wonderful, generous host, Mark Duplass. So let's bring these folks in. Hey, Kristen, Seaton, Sonia, and Mark. How
What's up, everybody?
Hello.
Hi. Well, that was fun.
Yeah, sorry about the technical difficulties, but as we all know, there are difficulties like not so unlike the challenges we may find on a set or creating our work, right? It's just we just got to roll with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. I think, it all things considered went very swimmingly. I've been a part of a lot of digital and online panels and festivals. And believe me, this one is it's ranking high on the technical acumen in terms of what I've dealt with in the past. So we should all feel good. Well, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us for this panel. I love talking about little shorts. I remember when I was, I think maybe 24 or 25 at my first film festival, and someone got on a panel and said something that really struck me and stayed with me. They said, make shorts, not longs. And I always love that. And I think that, what you're doing here, Lucia, with MicroMania is focusing on shorts under 5 minutes, which does so many things. It allows you to experiment in a more creatively free and less fearful way, because they're not only less expensive to produce. I think that, by the shorter runtime, you have a higher chance at not only success rate overall, but at success rate at finding a kernel of what you're ultimately good at. And for those of you who got to see the 3 films that we just watched, you can see there's already a high success rate of these 3 filmmakers finding their voices, which is what these short films are all about. So without further ado, I want to introduce you guys to who we'll be talking with today. We have Seton K. Smith, who is up at 2 in the morning. Yeah?
Yeah, it's about 2:30 now in Sydney.
2:30, and he's pretty
Good.
much
I
awake.
like it.
I think your eyes are open. Well done.
Yeah,
so let me
thank
just
you.
tell you guys a little bit about Seton. He's got TV writing credits that include ABC's Good Game and The Roast, as well as Disney's The Book of Once Upon a Time, Season 4, Alphabet Street. He's written for radio and stage and print, stand-up comedy for 7 years. And as you saw from his short, The Devil's Deck, he has a passion for creating comedic content that bridges the gap between funny and introspective misery. And I want to talk a lot about that with you, because that is very interesting. We have Kristen Ballard here as well. Say hi, Kristen.
Hi.
She is the director of Noisy Boys. She is a comedic dialogue director in New York who lives in a neighborhood where I used to live. She works as an executive producer and director at a company called Forgotten Umbrella Productions. She's directed branded content, social media commercials, music videos, and she's all about maximizing the chuckles with her work, which I also want to talk to you about, with how your inherent comedic structure is something to really zone in on. And she believes it's important to connect with her actor's sense of humor in order to bring the best out of the character, which is also something I believe in. So lots to talk about there. Sonia Sebastian.
Hi.
Hi, Sonia. And you are in Los Angeles, but you are from Spain?
From Spain, yes.
Where are you from?
From Madrid.
From Madrid. Okay.
Yeah.
So Sonia is an award-winning director, producer, and writer from Spain. She's in pre-production on her 3rd feature film called The Virgin of Highland Park, which is where our offices are in LA. So that's cool. She is fluent in Spanish and English. That is a huge tool right now. We should talk about that. And she is a consummate filmmaker who is continually challenging herself and keeping active. Already has 2 features under her belt. All right, guys. So we made these shorts. They're under 5 minutes. Seton, I just want to start with you. From your perspective, what do you feel like you really got right with this short in terms of your voice, what you're uniquely good at telling, and what are some of the gaps that you were like, shit, I really would have liked to have gotten this or that? And whether it was a creative obstacle or a financial obstacle, where do you want to be heading?
Yeah, I think that I always sort of feel pretty confident in my dialogue, and so I feel like I'm pretty happy with how that turned out in the short. I think that it was sort of, I animated the thing myself in a very crude way, and I think that the sort of the visuals and the sort of I definitely think that I could improve there, and a lot of other elements I could improve on too. But I feel like I got the dialogue right, and the sort of the timing I'm pretty happy with. I did it for a 48-hour film competition, that one, so I sort of did that over a weekend, and just sort of like, so it's a real sort of almost stream of consciousness kind of project in that respect. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Did that answer your question?
Well, yeah, it totally makes sense. Yeah, no, and I feel like your sensibility and your sense of humor are pretty evident there, and I really loved I think the most successful joke for me in there is, you know, the big music montage and the big stream of consciousness, and then the nice dry 3 to 4 second silence before he says, well, yeah, but what does it mean? I think is very emblematic of like what you're doing there. So, you know, I have a couple of thoughts for you on that, which I found interesting. It's, we once produced a show called Animals for HBO that was all 2D and I think what you would term crude animation. And it started with, you know, two guys drawing black and white cartoons of animals in the closet of their day job when they were supposed to be working, and just you know, doing voiceover on their iPhones and doing it all in Final Cut, not even using an animated software program. And I saw it and I loved it, and I remember talking to them and they were like, well, we got to get a professional animator because this is really crude. And I was like, or not, and just say that this is your vision and your voice and go with it in the way that South Park does. And I was struck on this by what a sort of like one person band you were. And my question was, who wrote the song for you? Is that something that you did, or are you a musician as well, or what's that collaboration like?
No, that's me as well. I wrote the song, yeah, but not really a musician, more of a tinkerer.
Yeah. But you can get it done. So like, I think like identifying for you, there's something really great here in this one person band, which is you at home over the course of 48 hours created 3.5 minutes that works and is funny. And you could then extrapolate that into something that, you know, could play in a 22-minute format with your sense of humor. And if you multiply that, you know, times the 3.5 minutes, it's really only going to take you 6 times as long. So technically you could be making full-length episodes of TV with your sense of humor and on your own. And that's how I've always thought, which is like, how can I take my art that I have landed into and extrapolate it into something that ideally can get rid of my day job and float me financially, you know?
Yeah.
And it seems like you've got a real potential for that there, which is really, really cool.
Thank
So
you.
I want to circle back to that in a minute, but I want to get to Kristen and talk about Noisy Boys. Now, this was a collaboration for you. This wasn't all kind of from your brain, the way it seemed like Seaton's was.
Right. So the writer, Michelle O'Brien, she basically wrote the whole thing. She's on like UCB Mod Night, and so she really worked on the script, and then she submitted it to us, and we came together.
Okay. And so have you worked with her before? Is this the first time? Are you guys, what was the energy like? And is this something that you want to continue, or how did you guys do together?
Yeah, definitely. So for our like little production company, Forgotten Umbrella Productions, there's 3 of us, and this was the first short that we did. And so
cool.
Michelle was like so gracious with us. Like our DP was using all his equipment for like the first time, and like production designer was using everything. And so it was great. In our very first meeting, we all had pictured the same thing. Like our mood board matched everything that was in her mind. And so from there, like, I think just like really having patience with each other and also trust seemed to work out really well.
Did you have to undergo any rewrites in order to fit it into the micro budget model? Are there any things you had to trim down, or because that can always be tough when you're dealing with someone else's script, you know, like, okay, this is great, but we got to get practical here.
Yeah, I think it actually fit pretty well. I think it was pretty tight, but we did have to make sure that the way we shot it, we could cut out any space. So we tried to get a lot of coverage so that there was no breaks between lines.
And that was more about you wanting the fast-paced comedy, or literally trying to get it to the 5-minute mark?
Both. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Both.
Now, and I guess a similar question that I asked Seaton, when you look at this short, I mean, we all look at our work and we have criticisms and things we wish we did differently. If you're thinking about the next thing you're going to make, what do you identify, all false modesty and ego and everything aside, as like the things you really nailed and the things you really feel like you can build upon for your next film? Or what do your friends identify when they watch it, or what kind of feedback are you getting, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, so I feel like the things that we nailed were like the delivery for a lot of the actors. Like I was really happy with what they gave us, and how naturally they delivered some lines.
Mhm.
But I think the thing we need to work on, I know I need to work on this, the DP I work with, Zach Jameson, I need to listen to him more. Like, he was kind of warning me about like how the lighting setup would be in the space that we were shooting. And I can tell like our second or third projects, they look a little bit more professionally done because of the detail lighting setup. So
yeah, it's a common thing I hear when I talk to people that, and I remember feeling the either the budgetary or technical constraints when I was making a lot of micro budget shorts. And I remember feeling very frustrated that I didn't have the funds, I didn't have the time, I didn't have the access or even the skill level to make things more polished and get them to a place where, you know, they could just be more elevated in some way or professional, you know? And the one thing that I would challenge all of you to think about is the benefits of the scrappiness that you have. You know, the first short that I made that really had any success was like a $3 short that I shot in my kitchen with my brother on our parents' NTSC video camera with a dead pixel in the center of it. And we didn't know how to light. We didn't know what we were doing. And I was so embarrassed and so ashamed to show up to Sundance with that short. And all I could think about was, God, if I had just shot it more professionally or knew. And what I've realized is that, and this is just part of what the industry can be and part of people's expectations is, that scrappy lo-fi nature helped people enjoy the short. And we got, I would say, I don't want to say graded on the curve, but we were lifted up because we didn't come in with a $10,000 budget saying, here we are. Everybody erroneously, I think, thought, oh, if they did it this good for $3, if we give them $300, it'll be $100 better next time. And I think that when you're at the place where you are, for whatever reason, boxed into micro budget filmmaking, I think it's really good to own it and really good to be scrappy. And you will find that people, rather than say, damn, it's a bummer that you're not more slick, they might want to lift you up and help get you there. So look, I'm sitting in the middle of a pandemic and I'm just like, all I'm doing is going back to the way I used to make art. I'm making stuff exactly like the things you're making right now. And I'm happier than I've been in a long time. And I think that it's good to remember that this is a special time and the kinds of things you're making, even though they do have limits, they can be good in their own merits. And what I'm seeing in you, Kristen, is like your collaboration with your writer. You have this like inherent like old school comedy structure of like the clown car and the Three Stooges. Like we open the window and here they come in, and that's like a really nice classic comedy thing with a more like, you know, modern twist on it with the way that the characters are. And leaning into that and leaning into your fast pace. I was on a show called The League for a long time. That was an improv comedy show. And I literally couldn't keep up with that show by how fast they edit it, but the speed with which they edited those jokes, I think made people like the jokes better than they actually were because they're flying at you. And so I think the speed is playing in your favor, in my opinion, on this. Even some of the jokes that are less successful than others play better at that speed because they keep coming, you know? So I think that you know, if you're feeling good about your writer and your collaboration, might be a good idea for you to kind of lean into that. And try, I'm always trying to identify the principles that worked and then expand upon them in the next thing, you know? And I think that there's something in this sort of classic, almost shticky comedy structure delivered in a naturalistic way that feels kind of unique that you could lean into. Anyway, Sonia, hi.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good.
All right, so you have some actors here who are acting in a lot of two shots together with not a lot of cut points, which means you're leaning a lot on them creatively to do what you need to do. How much of a script did you have here? How much of that was improvised or changed? How critical were your performers in this piece for you?
So we improvise a lot because I collaborate with Jennifer on a couple of projects more. So we feel very comfortable, and I like to let her go. So I just write the concept that I wanted to write. I was in the middle of the pandemic, and I was like going to kill myself. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, let's see what's coming from here, right? And I write this little story of this character.
Yep.
And so I give it to her, and it's like, okay, let's play. And all this short is based on playing while we were shooting. I was by myself for the first time in my life with my camera, with my son. I did everything. I have about lighting. I don't have, but I just did it. I just wanted to try to do something, and yeah.
Well, that's great. I mean, I think you're touching on something about that's been a long journey for me to recognize in myself, but I'm recognizing it in you and in all of you guys to a certain degree, is that real trust when you find a partner that can elevate what you want to do and make it better. And I used to think for a long time, because I grew up watching indie movies in the 90s where the auteur was the vision of what you needed to be, which meant you need to know everything and be a filmmaking genius in order to succeed. And that made me feel terrible about myself. And it made me feel like, well, I'm not that. I'm like a B- with some decent ideas. And so how am I going to get there? And then once I realized that I could surround myself with people who I loved and trusted and who had my best interest in mind. And when I was able to admit, I'm good at X, but I'm not good at Y. So I need somebody good at Y and I need somebody good at Z. And then we can all come together and collectively make maybe a B+. And I think that you seem to have found something here with your lead actress, because especially since you've done a few projects together, it's so cool. And I think that when I'm looking at what you're doing here, I identified something a while ago as a micro budget filmmaker, which I call like basically just high concept, low budget. It's nothing particularly unique, but you're doing in this short a naturalistic sort of, relationship, interpersonal comedy that happens to have a really high concept, fantastical thing happening there. And I think that that's a really good way to think about micro budget filmmaking, because it's still using all of the available materials that you have around you, an actor and, naturalistic lighting and apartments and whatnot. But you found a concept that allowed you to sort of elevate beyond that and not just make an average talky relationship micro budget short, which, honestly, that can get lost in the flood. So I think leaning into that for you, if that's something that excites you, is really good thing to do. I made a movie about maybe like 8 or 9 years ago called The One I Love, that is essentially a talky interpersonal relationship movie, but has a high concept at the center of it that was not expensive to shoot. We were still able to make that movie for like, under $100,000. But it looked and felt bigger just because of the concept. And I think that that's something you should totally lean into. So I have a question for all three of you, and anybody can jump in at this point. What are the frustration points for you being here at this great festival that's celebrating your short, and you're figuring out who you are creatively? What are the frustration points about next steps for you, and what are the things keeping you from getting where you want to be?
It's such a strange time now in general, in terms of like, obviously there are places that have it a lot harder than other places, but in terms of creatively, it's sort of like the idea of like, when is it going to, when we have these dreams, like when is that going to be time to sort of enact them? And, especially like getting on a set and stuff. So it's such a strange time to sort of think about the future, because it's so uncertain. So it's really, I think that's the sort of the biggest frustration in that sense. And it kind of clouds over all the micro frustrations that sort of fill day-to-day life anyway.
Yeah. What about you guys, Kristen and Sonia?
Yeah, well, I think the frustration is we don't know what is going on really, and it's not just about that. It's just to try to find your voice, how to find the budget to do whatever you want to do, how to be able to express yourself, in this career. So I think in my opinion right now, in my personal life is everything is about this lockdown and don't see a future, right? A clear future. So it's let's try to, configure your life again and say, well, this is the reality, what I'm gonna do, what I want to do, how can I be more happy every day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, it's been interesting. The good that came out of it was that it reminded me how much I missed writing. Like I'd been collaborating. And so I kind of have this, all right, for the next 6 or 7 months, like I'm going to write a lot.
Yeah.
But what after that? And like, will I ever get to quit my day job?
Yes.
I think it's like even more terrifying now to
Yep.
have that like financial insecurity, honestly,
Yep.
switching over.
It's been interesting. A common thing that I hear from people when we talk about what to do now, basically, there's this sort of squirrel mentality of like, let's write up and save our scripts for the winter, or when it's time to come back. And I do think that's good, but I also think that some people just spiritually, mentally, and emotionally are not really at a place where they know what they want to say necessarily, or what will be a relevant piece of art when you come out. And the one thing I've been encouraging a lot of people to do, and encouraging people at my company, and you guys are already doing this because you're making stuff, is to try to find creative ways to continue making while you are at home, And I think that you might be surprised at how much that can spiritually keep you alive, but also I really believe more than ever, nobody knows anything about what's going to make a piece of art sing or cut through. And all the studios are freaking out right now because they may or may not have enough content, one of my least favorite words, to distribute when it's time. They don't know what the audiences are going to want to watch. And what I think that does, as scary as it is it does democratize the playing field a little bit, and it offers opportunities for people like you guys who are self-starters to just, break out beyond what you're doing in this micro budget, under 5 minutes short, and try to make something inside of your house that is product oriented, that could potentially be sold and go to that next level, And I think for you, Seaton, identifying your strength as a comedian, as a writer of sharp dialogue, good comedic timing, somebody who can write music, even if it's tinkering, it's enough to do what you need to do, and animate at home pretty quickly. You're in a place where you're ready to go. I just feel like you need to find 2 or 3 other actors and populate your stories in a way that expands your world. But I think doing what you're doing and repeating those frames over and over again so that you don't have to animate too much, you're already thinking like a really good micro-budget animator, and you're well on your way. And I think, Kristen, for you, I think you and your writing partner should consider doing a really great narrative audio podcast. We just signed a big Spotify podcast deal, and nobody knows how to make narrative podcasts work. They'll be the first ones to tell you. Nobody knows what they're doing, and all the ones that are coming out aren't good. And I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm trying to figure it out. And it's so democratized. It's so wonderful, And so you do snappy dialogue well. You have a writer that you like. You're good with comedy. I think that rather than, let me just write a bunch of things on spec that may or may not get made later, I think thinking about making them right now. And literally, like when we record our stuff, 6 inches away on your iPhone is an incredible microphone. It sounds so good. And having Zoom sessions like this, getting your scripts to them, doing read-throughs, recording, they send you these voice memos, you edit them together in iMovie or GarageBand. Like that's a $0 budget. And it really can not only give you a product that is an actual podcast to sell or place, but secondarily, it is a proof of concept if you want to turn that into a feature film or a TV series later. That's much further than just having a script. So that's like a concrete thing I would think of. And Sonia, I would go make a high concept, low budget, either TV length pilot or better, the 72-minute short feature version of what you're doing here that goes much further and uses as much fun, fantastical sci-fi plotting as you can to show that you know how to drive those kinds of stories, and that makes you hireable later on. and B, just make the movie itself better. So it's a commingling of funny, interpersonal, dynamic stuff mixed with genre that shows people like, whoa, this person can kind of do anything, you know, and you got the tools to make that pretty much right now. I would love to see all those things from you guys. Before we hop off, I just want to say my door is open to you guys. And if you need help or if you need advice on some of the stuff, I'd be more than happy to advise. And you should be so proud of what you made. It's so hard to make something watchable in such a short form. And you did really, really good with it. So thanks for sharing with me. And thanks for making stuff in a crazy time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you guys have any last questions or anything for me before we beg off here?
I think I have a question.
Yeah.
What was like the moment for you? What was the project that you felt like kind of cemented it into your identity?
That's a great question. Yeah. So just before I go, I won't tell too long, but like I used to work as an editor in my early 20s with my brother, and we saved up about $50,000 editing corporate videos and commercials, and we made a feature film that was unwatchable. And I almost quit filmmaking, and I was so depressed, and I was 24, my brother was 27, and I was like, I don't have it. I took my shot and I'm done. And we're sitting on the couch, and then I made that $3 movie in my kitchen with my parents' video camera. And why I think that movie was essential is that my ego had been decimated by failing on that film. Secondarily, I think that it was uniquely true to what I had to offer. The comedy of my desperation and despair. And that's all that I could tell really well at 24 years of age. And so I just leaned right into it without knowing I was doing it. I stumbled into it. And then as soon as we made that, I realized that this is what I have to offer right now. And so I'm going to stay on brand and lean into this for a few years. And then I got good enough as a filmmaker, and I got good enough at the form that I could lean out of the personalized stories and tell more omniscient stories and partner with other people to tell different kinds of stories. But I stayed very close to home in the early days. And what I always tell people is there is some conversation you have had with a friend or a loved one or a parent or something at 2 a.m. where you are either giggling or crying or some deep admission of something that you have done or a fear about yourself that you would never tell anyone but that person you're close with. And as soon as you identify that and put it on film, that's what you uniquely have to offer.
Thank you.
Excellent. I hope for each of the participants that you found this as useful as I intended it to be. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your experience. MicroMania Film Festival is meant to be more than just a single annual event. I plan on doing programming throughout the year. We're currently running I have a channel on Vimeo. It's now featuring, I think, 160 films, and it's gotten 200,000 views in under 4 months. So it's just going to grow from here. Thank you, everybody. Your work is brilliant, each and every one of you. Thank you, Mark. This was very sweet of you. I really appreciate everything you do for our community.
I had fun. Thank you guys for sharing, and good luck. Can't wait to see more stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Shayna, if you could just leave me on for a second, I'll talk about the next events we have. Bye, everybody. Hey, so if you enjoyed that, join me tomorrow at 12 p.m. where I announce our festival award winners. They're incredible. And we'll attempt to stream them at the same time. And feel free to share the link for anyone you know who may not have been able to purchase a pass and would like to see some great films. Also, so that's 12 p.m. Thursday, July 30th. Then we have at 4 p.m., we have 2 events at the same time, which I'm not, like, it's just these things happen sometime. But We have crowdfunding for independence put on by Seed&Spark, which you can register for and watch later because you'll want to tune in for Micro Indigenous, hosted by Kim Wheeler, sponsored and co-presented by Native Spirit Foundation. Then, last but not least, on Friday, July 31st at 11 a.m., we have Women in Micro. See you then. Thank you. Bye.